So we're going to show you 3 different fully naturalistic, fully free tarantula hides you can add into your tarantula's enclosures. So while Scott's on holiday, we've decided, why not make a little video to go out on his channel to be able to help him out. If you don't know me, I'm Richard from Northern Exotics. I'm Richard, these are not my inverts. Yeah. Anyway, to do this, we're going to actually physically show you some various things you can do, collecting free stuff from outside, using them in your tarantula's enclosures to add a little bit of naturalism into their enclosures. So they do have full enrichment through all the naturalistic stuff you put in there. Let's go. Check this place out. Look, gotta look into the naturalistic environment, even stuff just like this. There you go, lovely little log just laying down. See the tunnel? Your tarantula could quite easily live in there. So you get yourself a log, get it clean, get it prepared, dig out a little hole, poof, that's what they'll start using. And with that one, they can go underneath it, they can go on top of it. You can put that up against, like flatten one side of it, stick up against the glass, and then you can see the burrow from the other side on the glass. What's stopping you from adding a little bit of natural moss onto it? So easy to prepare the natural moss. You just sort of, you don't need to take much, just underneath, take a little pinch, just like that. There you go, tiny little pinch, grab that. Over time, that will grow. When you get that home, sink it underwater, all the bugs, the debris and stuff will come off it, and literally just put it straight back on, tap it down, keep it fed and watered, it'll be perfectly fine. Now this might not work for slings and tiny tarantulas, simply because they'll get lost, they'll get scared, they'll get threatened. They just won't do very well in a sort of bioactive, naturalistic sort of setup. Let's face it, it is always better to go bioactive, but the smaller ones, the isopods, may have a little meal out of that. Add some ferns into the enclosure, again, totally free. There's loads of them kicking around, just grab a fern. Well, check that out. You want to go to the roots, find a small one that's small enough, pick it out, the roots, everything. When you get it home, just sort of dab it in water, get all the detritus off it, all the dirt off it, and it works absolutely perfect. Plant that in the enclosure. It's all about trying to recreate their natural habitat so that they can thrive just like they do in their natural habitat. If you are going to go down the line of live planted enclosures like I do, big top tip, cocoa fiber substrate isn't enough. It doesn't sustain good plant growth. There's no nutrition in it for the plants, so you do have to go down the line of a proper bioactive substrate. But again, you can make that totally free just by coming out to the wild, find a safe place so there's no dog urine, no dog poo, no fertilizers or pesticides or anything like that. Get as much as you want, get it home, stick it in the freezer, just leave it in the freezer for 3 days or so. It'll just be a solid block because there is a bit of moisture in there. Thaw it out, get it up to room temperature, make sure it's been at room temperature for a few days, drop that in the enclosure, see how you get on. You can always add little bits to that substrate that you just got, whether you want to add cocoa fiber to bulk it up, whether you want to add sand to make it more of a sandy sort of grittier species. They might require a bit more sand, add a bit more clay sand into it. That'll work perfectly fine. But along with the actual correct substrate for the plants, you can also go down the lines of the lighting as well. The Reptile Systems New Dawn LED plant grow lights, they're absolutely amazing. Every plant that I've got in my entire collection, I've got a lot, have all blown up massive, really strong stems, really great. Well, they're designed solely to be the sun and provide these with everything they require to be able to grow healthy and strong. Once they've grown healthy and strong, you can then start taking cuttings off them for new enclosures, for new animals, and so on and so on. But yeah, the Reptile Systems New Dawn LED lighting has really helped the plant grow within my entire collection. But while we're down here in this little nook and cranny just here, let's go on to number 2. Just have a look around this little nook and cranny and see what there is. Because exploring the actual natural wild is only better. The wind's picked up, so you might hear a bit of wind, but we'll start over here. Underneath that log, you've got a burrow. You've got loads of little burrows up that ledge there behind the back. Now the water level in the winter does come up to here. You can see where we've got the undercut bank and stuff like that. So we'll go above this area. I mean, just look at that. Can you replicate something like that in your enclosure? That would be absolutely amazing. You'd probably never see your tarantula, but that would be absolutely amazing. It would love it, and it'll be highly enriching. But let's get up this ledge, because this is now above the waterline. Look at this bank, just look at that. All those little burrows, all those little hides, you can replicate that in your enclosure. Use a clay-based substrate and dig it out before the clay actually sets, and just there you go, just loads of little holes, bit of moss, some plant growth around it. If you want to do that, just do your normal substrate, then a bulk of substrate, really firm, really compact. Stick your finger in, make a little hole, and that'll be it basically. You can add ferns to the top, add plants to the top, and the roots will help sustain that cliff face that you've made. You can make that cliff face up one side of the enclosure, and then behind it you've got the glass, so you'll be able to see into the burrows. That would be quite fascinating. You can even make that burrow go in one side and round and out the other side, so you'd be able to see like a whole work of burrows behind the back of the actual enclosure itself. That would be amazing. Now, species like the Brachypalma hamori, if you watch any of Andrew Smith's work, he goes out to Mexico, to the banks of the Rio Balsas River, and it is just like that. Whereas we keep Brachypalma hamoris on a fairly terrestrial sort of setup, that's actually how they live in the wild, in burrows on faces like that. It's definitely worth looking into. If you've not seen any of Andrew Smith's works, just YouTube search Loves Tarantulas. He's done a whole series on the Brachypalma genus. So let's get out of this nook and cranny. I can hear a train. They always come past when we're filming. There we go, he's gone. Let's get out of that little nook and cranny and go and find some more. I'd love to get my hands on another Brachypalma hamori. It's just a fascinating species. But why are they so fascinating to me? Well, simply because I've done a lot of research on that specific genus, on that specific species of the genus, and I know so much about it, so I just get more fascinated about it. Maybe that's why. I don't know. How many tarantulas have you guys got? Stick it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear. Me myself, I've only got two tarantulas. I've got a Brachypalma that's no longer a Brachypalma, that's a Tililicau albipalossum, that's not a Tililicau because I can't say it, so I call it a cow boob because it's a tick cow. I've got one of those albipalossum curly hair things. That's quite nice. It's in a bioactive tub, which I'd like to get it into an enclosure, make it more of a display, which is what we're doing a lot more on my channel at the moment. And I've also got a Samani, again, adult female, big girl. But the thing I noticed with her was I went bioactive and she didn't really take to it too much. I wondered why. Turns out I've got quite a big opening on her hide. Her hide goes from one corner to the back corner of the glass. So I kept the back corner of the glass, the back corner of the hide, the deepest part, totally clear. So if she's in pre-molt, if there's anything up with her in the actual hide, I can just go around the back of the enclosure, have a look up that little peephole, and I can see. She went in that enclosure, she loved it to start, or I thought she loved it. She didn't. She just sort of went around, went in the burrow, she loved the burrow, and then she webbed it. She never come out for 2 months. Everyone's telling me it's pre-molt, just leave her alone. I left her alone. Lo and behold, she's come back out, literally a couple of weeks ago. But what she's done, she's webbed up the front a lot more, but only left a tiny little hole. So maybe if you're looking at doing all this sort of stuff, making it natural, only make a tiny little hole, make it big enough so they can find it to start with, but then they will adjust it accordingly to whatever they feel comfortable with. Now she's out and about, she's feeding loads, she's just looking absolutely amazing. But don't be surprised if your tarantula does go a bit funny when you first turn them over to a sort of naturalistic setup. They've just got to get used to it. I've come down to this little area. It's another big hill area because tarantulas love terrain, they love hills. We've got water down there. All the leaf litter on the bottom, that really helps them, or I've found out that mine actually really loves it. It tends to move all the leaf litter to one sort of corner and tends to hang around on that corner. I don't know whether it's the texture or it's different or what, but it seems to like it. Now we're going to look, let's have a look at this tree here. Why not do a big root base like that going up to the top of the enclosure, straight up, cut it off at the top of the enclosure, so you've just basically got an enclosure with a tree. You might be able to stick a bit of moss around it, just like this one's got just there. But let's go closer. So you've got burrow down there, burrows all around there, some more around there, and even better, if you've got an arboreal species, why not crevices like this? The arboreal sort of Poecilotheriids will absolutely love those crevices. It'll be nice to see a Metallica just on that tree there being so light, and then the blue of the Metallica just sat in that crevice. That would be quite nice. But yeah, bit of moss. You just, again, you just have to grab the moss, slowly peel it off, just little bits at a time, And that's it. That's an idea for you. Even around the other end of the tree, there's loads of little nooks and crannies, so you could easily find a tree just laying on the floor. Have a look at it, see what it's like. If it's too rotten, don't use it. If it's in an unsafe area, don't use it. But, oh, look at that. It's definitely an idea that I've not seen done before, that they would absolutely love and be highly enriched. If you do find a log on the floor, it's a case of just cook it at 100 degrees Fahrenheit for half an hour, keep a check on it. Or if it's not a wet piece of wood, just freeze it for a few days. It'll be perfectly fine. Keep it out, freeze it for a couple of days, then take it out for a few days. Let it get up to room temperature, right down to the core of the actual wood, and that'd be absolutely perfect. So there is 3 different totally naturalistic and totally free ways you can make a tarantula hide. Not just the hide, but the enclosure, how to prepare everything if you do need it. If you got any questions, stick it down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys come up with and your views on going fully naturalistic with a tarantula. It's got to be better than just a tub.